things we found out there when we got
Uh,
to do the link thing. It
we're
showed
now
the.
we're now being live streamed,
Oh,
everyone.
okay. All right.
Joe, quickly, I'd like that link too, please.
Okay. I don't know if I have your email or not. There, maybe Frank or Chris can send it to you there too. I sent it to both of them.
Okay.
Has anyone been in touch with our administrator? Somebody could give him a ring and
Yes, good morning, Frank. I just joined. Sorry, I had a little bit of a computer glitch, but I'm here.
okay.
So
We're being
it's
live streamed now, so
okay. My computer probably thinks it's Friday already, so it's time to go
okay.
to the weekend. So,
It is 10:01 a.m. on Friday, uh, December 8th, and this meeting of the Arizona Oil and Gas Conservation Commission is called to order. Establishing a quorum here. I see Dale Nations. I see Commissioner Cooper. Uh, who else is online?
Bill, I'm here.
Mike, are you
Mike
there?
Conway here.
Good. We have a quorum. Is there any conflicts of interest?
None.
Hearing no conflicts of interest, we'll move on to item 2, the administrator report. Administrator Schmidt, you want to proceed?
okay. Yes, thank you, Chairman Thorwald, and good morning, commissioners. Item 2A, permit applications. You were forwarded an attachment A, which shows some of those permit applications up for commission vote. I just wanted to provide you a kind of an update on a couple of the agenda items here for 2 of these well applications. The first one being item 2A I, or 1 would be Desert Eagle Operating Well, DEO 13-6. We are going to dismiss that from the agenda for vote on that one. I was waiting for some updated information from the operator, and I had been in touch with the operator over the last couple of weeks about getting some of that information. And I was told that it wasn't going to be forthcoming for this meeting. So they were okay with that. And we will dismiss that from our agenda this morning. Is there any questions from the commissioners on that? Okay. Hearing none, we'll go to I want to go to item 4 because this is kind of a similar situation. Before we go back to the 2 permits, items 2 and 3 for that agenda item. Pinta Dome Operating Well, PDO 10-1 state. Again, a similar situation. We were supposed to be getting some updated information. This is a well application where a spacing exception was required. And so that information has not been able to be conveyed to me for review or for review by the commission. So we are going to dismiss that agenda item as well as the spacing exception request in item 2B number 1. Same thing for Pinta Dome. They need to forward on a GFOP approval and also the spacing exception request. They need to appear before the commission to provide information on that request. So I'm working with the operator. I've been in touch with the operator on that one as well. So those 2 items we'll dismiss. But then for your review, commissioners, and approval consideration is the 2 Pinta South operating wells, Pinta South 23-10 SD fee and 23-5 SD fee. We have received their applications. We've been through their applications, and they are administratively and substantively complete. And so at this time, I am recommending that the commission vote to approve the permit applications. So I will leave that to the commissioners.
This is Commissioner Nations. Yeah, I move to approve the
the permit application for Penta South operating 23-10 SD fee and Penta South operating LLC ID Penta South 23-5 SD fee.
Is there any further discussion on this? Do we have a second?
Hi, Robbins, second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
Okay, thank you, commissioners. I'm going to jump over B, as we talked about. That was the spacing exception request we dismissed. And going to item C would be the application for permit to drill a re-enter form. Last commission meeting, I kind of provided that form, variance and modification form for your review. We kind of talked about that in our meeting, that we wanted to go back and kind of do a couple of things based on the commissioners' recommendations. And that was what we did was we split the forms. Up. So we kind of have a revised application to drill form. So it's called an application to drill or re-enter. And then we also will have a separate form, which is a drilling permit modification form. And the rationale for doing this, as I explained in the last meeting, was that we want to make sure our records are fairly accurate on well drilling and what depths and what locations they're going into, but also any changes in potential ownership or anything like that during the active part of the permit. And so we broke up these forms into two parts. They were sent to you as part of the attachments. The first attachment, of application for permit to drill or re-enter. The only thing, if you note, one of the recommendations by the commissioners that you had was to change the method for drilling. So what we did was we just changed that to indicate the drilling method. So as an example would be air rotary, because the last time we had cable tool on there, we were discussing about that, whether anybody was still doing cable tool drilling. And then we did change the title of the form. So it is an application for a permit to drill or re-enter. The modification form would have the application to modify a permit. So this form for the new application to drill is up for the commissioner's vote, and I will take any questions, or you may proceed with your recommendation to vote on that.
Commissioners, do you have any questions, comments, suggestions? Does this form look all right to everyone?
This is Commissioner Nations. I move to accept the proposed forms as presented.
Any further discussion on this? Do I have a second?
This is Mike Conway. I second it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any
I have,
opposed?
no,
The motion carries.
yeah, this is Commissioner Nations. I have a question. Did we just eliminate the Pentadome operating? Well, I think I missed what you said about that.
Yes, yes, Commissioner Nations. Pentadome was supposed to provide information on the spacing exception request as part of their application and appear before the commission on that request. But then also they have to provide a letter of approval from ASLD on the GFOP approval. So we're waiting on those two items to be buttoned up before we go ahead and recommend any vote to approve the permit. All of the rest of the information is fine. We've been through the permit, but we just need those couple of things to be completed prior to recommending approval.
Administrator Schmidt, for those that don't know what ASLD is, you might.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Arizona State Land Department. So this well would be drilled on state lease, and so the Arizona State Land Department approves the geologic field operations plans that are submitted to them, and then we always would get copies of the letters of approval when they apply to the ASLD for that. So sorry, yes, for those of you who This is a very high intense acronym business. I know. So,
This Commissioner Nations, on that item about spacing exception requests that we've just eliminated, when I first read that, I thought, well, what is the exception? What's meaning requested? So that should be, in other words, there should be some elaboration of,
okay.
of what's required there in the agenda.
Okay. Yeah. So like for this one, it is an actual spacing exception that the by rule the spacing is 660 feet, right, from lines, and so this would be a spacing that's just under that. So yes, we can do that, Commissioner Nation. That's a good idea. Is that what part of the spacing exception is being requested of the commission? That's a good idea. We'll do that on future agendas.
Okay.
Yep.
Did we covered back on number 2? We covered II. Did we get the triple I?
II and triple I, Commissioner Thorwald, is that these wells were approved by you, the permits.
Well, I thought that. I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure I didn't miss something there.
Yes, yes. These permits have been approved. Just at your recent vote here shortly before. Yep, we're
Okay.
good. Okay. Yeah, I know we've kind of skipped around a little bit today because of some of these things. So yes. So okay. So moving on to the application, the permit modification form. Same kind of thing as we split this form out. It's basically to modify right now the location and or the depth of the well. We have had requests before, or operators have told us or requested that they wanted to go deeper, based on their permit. So if their permit was allotted for, let's say, approved for 1,000-foot depth, total depth to be drilled, they may indicate, well, we want to go deeper down and look for, let's say, oil or gas or additional pay somewhere in a different zone. So they would request going a little deeper on the same well under the same permit. So that's what this form would be. Is this doesn't cost the operator anything to submit. It's just really for our records that we noticed that, or we know that the well has been either drilled deeper or they want to move the location. If they want to move the location within the drilling unit, that's acceptable. But if it goes outside of the unit, then they would have to actually come in for a spacing exception request. So all this form does is, if you note about the center of the form, it just says what's the nature of the modification. Is it the location or is it the depth? And they can check that off and fill in the information. And then if all of the other information is still the same, we would process it the same way. Or if there's a change in ownership for some reason or something else changes, they can provide any updated information on that form.
Is there any questions on this form? Changes, recommendations? On these 2 forms, does everybody like them?
I thought we've already approved them.
Right. I just was asking if there was anything else there. So.
Oh, okay. Okay. So your previous vote did approve both forms. Yes,
Right.
you are correct, Commissioner Nations.
Yes, I was just asking if there was anything else on those.
Yeah. Anything else? Yeah. And of course, commissioners, as you look at these things, please feel free to provide any other feedback down the road if you need to, and things that we can make things better for not only our record keeping purposes, but also for the industry as a whole, to make it easier on them to provide that information. Okay, that would take us through item D, and then item E would be the Oil and Gas Administrators Authority, and I will turn that over to Commissioner Thorwald.
Since we're gonna, we need on this one, we need to get a legal advice for our what we can do with the administrator. We've had this discussion before and given our administrator certain powers in the past, and we need to have a discussion on this. So I would like to get a motion to be able to move into administrative session, executive session.
Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner Cooper. I would move that we go into an executive session for legal advice, and we include the board, the administrator, and the attorney general representing the commission.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Hi, Robbins, second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 We will move into executive session. Everybody will get a join that's been invited, and just click on that join.
I think everybody has returned. Chairman Thorwald, you're muted if.
Two of our commissioner is Commissioner Cooper, and I mean Firebrand and Commissioner Conway there.
Yes, I see them both here, Commissioner.
I'm here, Bill.
I closed the breakout room, so everyone should be back now.
Okay.
I'm here as well.
Moving on to the next on the agenda. Well, we're on that. Sorry. Moving on here. Do I hear a motion for a vote or any further discussion with regard to our administrator's authority? I would, at this point, I think we need to eliminate all previous administrators' authority and have a blanket vote on that to any authority that the board, any previous commissioners. Do I have a motion on that?
This is Commissioner Cooper. I'll take an attempt at that. I would move that the Oil and Gas Commission revoke any prior authority delegated to the administrator to issue permits and other administrative matters.
Do I have
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Moving on to the next item on the.
This is Commissioner Chairman. Your voice is not very clear. Can
Thank you.
turn up your volume or something?
I will do that. Is this any better?
Yeah, that's better now.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hello, I'm sorry, this is Deidre O'Callahan. I just have one question, and that would be, would there be an outline of what the administrator is allowed to approve so that we
Deidre,
know
who are you with?
I'm sorry, I'm with Pinna South Operating and Desert Eagle Operating.
We'll have a time later on when you can ask the questions at this
Okay,
point.
thank you.
Moving on to the next item on the agenda, the meeting frequency. Administrator Schmidt, you want to talk about that?
Yes, commissioners, this was coming out of our last meeting and some of these discussions where, and some of the things where we might have wanted to change the meeting frequency on a regular basis to a shorter time frame. And that we were asked to go back and look with staff and our team to see about whether or not we needed to do that or to recommend that to the commission at this time. After going back and speaking with the team and looking at what the I would say the workload is, permitting and other industry activity, I would say right now I do not foresee that we would need to have a change in the cadence of the meetings from every 6 weeks to, let's say, every 3 weeks or something like that. I think every 6 weeks right now is fine. And I think if special circumstances arise, we do have the ability to call a meeting in between our regularly scheduled meetings to take up any matters that might come before us, something that an industry personnel or operator may need for drilling or something else like that. But I don't see that we have that kind of activity to increase the frequency of meetings on a regular basis. And so what I would suggest or recommend to the commission is to maintain the 6-week frequency and then allow us as a team administratively to look at our activity as it as it goes over the next like several months or so, if we see an increase in that activity and a sustained increase, then maybe we come back before the commission to vote on decreasing the amount of time between meetings.
Any questions or discussions on that? Hearing none, let's move on to item 3 on the agenda, underground injection control program presentation by John Razabek with ADEQ.
Good morning, John.
Good morning. I'm going to share my screen and begin.
Sure, if you're ready.
Is my presentation showing up for everyone?
It is.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah,
I'll go
I
ahead and
see it.
begin. Thank you. So my name is John Razabek. I'm here today to present on the ADEQ's Primary Enforcement Authority pursuit or primacy pursuit of the Safe Drinking Water Act's Underground Injection Control Regulatory Program. I'm a legal specialist and a rule writer with the Groundwater Protection Section, which is part of the Water Quality Division at ADEQ. Okay, so in my presentation, this is the agenda. I'm going to go over a short program overview. I'll talk about the ADEQ's authority to pursue primacy, the authority origin, the history of the primacy pursuit, some of the primacy requirements, and then the timeline item there. I will go over the current primacy pursuit and where we're at, and talk about past, present, and future there. And then I have a slide for online resources to ADEQ's web pages that we have, public facing web pages for UIC, and then we'll have an open discussion or questions at the end if we want to. So with that, I'll move on. So the Safe Drinking Water Act Underground Injection Control Program, or the UIC program, it derives its authority or origin from the Safe Drinking Water Act of 1974. EPA promulgated rules effectuating the UIC program in the Code of Federal Regulations a couple years after that, I think around 1980. Since then, EPA has been administering the UIC program in all the states that have not been granted primary enforcement authority or primacy. So EPA retains administrative authority in those states. In Arizona, EPA has been administering the UIC program for around, or I think more than 40 years now. The goal of the Safe Drinking Water Act UIC program is to protect underground sources of drinking water, which are similar to aquifers, and this is all within an injection well context. And I've just on the screen here, I've got just one of the kind of central salient rules, basically denoting the protection or the need for permit and protection of the underground sources of drinking water in an injection well context. Okay, I apologize. This slide might be a little bit fuzzy. I pulled this from EPA's website, but I just wanted to show this slide. It shows fairly accurately. There's one caveat I'll speak about in a minute, but it shows fairly accurately the state of primacy in the United States for the UIC program. You can see the states in red only have primacy for Class 2 wells. So those are wells related to oil and gas activities. And then the kind of lighter green color or aqua color is those states they have primacy for the well classes 1 through 5. And then the blue states have that's where EPA retains authority for the UIC program, which includes Arizona currently. One caveat I wanted to mention is that this slide doesn't show Class 6 primacy, and the Class 6 wells are relatively new in the context of the history of the UIC program. Class 6 wells are carbon capture and sequestration wells. And I believe that North Dakota and Illinois have those wells. I'm not sure about their primacy status. I do know that Louisiana is attempting primacy for Class 6 as well. And I believe a number of other states are, given the incentives with the Infrastructure Act. All right, moving on. Briefly, I just want to explain the well classifications. So Class 1 injection wells are deep, hazardous, and non-hazardous waste and disposal injections. There's none permitted in Arizona. Class 2 are injection wells associated with oil and natural gas, also none currently in Arizona permitted. Class 3, these are injections associated with mineral recovery and in situ mining. So there's 3 permittees in Arizona that have UIC permits that are being administered by EPA. That's Florence Copper, Gunnison, the Gunnison Project, and Morton Salt. And Morton Salt has 3 individual permits where I believe Florence and Gunnison have what are called area permits that allow for multiple wells within an area. Class 4, those are shallow, hazardous, or radioactive waste injection wells. Those have been prohibited nationwide since 1985. Class 5 wells it's kind of a catch-all category. Other injection wells, certain large septic systems, dry wells, aquifer storage, recharge wells. There are, tens of thousands of dry wells in Arizona. There's, quite a few large septic wells and other dry wells, as well as some ASR wells in Arizona as well. And then, like I said earlier, Class 6, that's carbon capture and sequestration injection, which there are none currently permitted in Arizona. Okay, so here's the authority slide I talked about in the agenda. So there's actually 2 statutes in the Arizona revised statutes that direct ADEQ, the ADEQ director, or the department, as you can see from the language, to pursue primacy. So 49203A6 says that the director shall adopt by rule a permit program for UIC described in the Safe Drinking Water Act, and 25701A states that the department shall establish an underground injection control permit program, including a permit process. So my understanding is that the 203 statute has been on the books for a long time, at least since the inception of ADEQ, to my research. And then the 257 statute was put into place in 2018, which ADEQ felt that there was a need to get modern authority for the pursuit of primacy. So that's the short story about that one. So, all right, moving on. So, and then the history of the primacy pursuits, my understanding is that there was an attempt to gain primacy by ADEQ in the mid-1990s using the APP program as an equivalent, which it didn't quite work, and EPA, more or less told ADEQ that ADEQ should not proceed because the programs are incongruent. And then the current primacy pursuit started as early as 2017, late 2017, with maybe stakeholder meetings. And this current primacy pursuit is the proposition of a separate program from Aquifer Protection Permits, or APP. And so that started, like I said, at the end of 2017, the beginning of 2018, and it continues to this day. Okay, so a quick note on the primacy requirements. So this regulation in the Code of Federal Regulations, this is a synopsis of the requirements, or the elements, as they say, that are necessary for a complete application for primacy. So as you can see in the 5th bullet that says law, statute, and rule, a state has to have proper authority to pursue primacy, which I talked about in the previous slide. And there also has to be rule in place to administer the program. So ADEQ tackled that one first, and there was a rule put in place. I think it went effective in September 2022, but that rule lies dormant until EPA grants the state primacy. So even though there's a rule in the Arizona Administrative Code currently it lies dormant until primacy is granted. So once you have your authority and your rule in place, you can work on the other elements. The program description and the memorandum of agreement with EPA. Those are, especially the program description, those are lengthy documents describing all the details of the program, the application process, the permitting process, public notice, how data management will occur, et cetera. And then the memorandum of agreement is, it's an agreement, it's closer to a contract or an agreement between EPA and ADEQ for certain items. There's also an Attorney General's statement where the Attorney General certifies that all the authorities are in place, the statute and the rule for the UIC program. That's a required component. And then you have to show all the public participation that's been done, the notice and comment periods for the rulemakings. There was also recently a notice and comment period and a hearing for the imminent submission of the primacy application. So there's a kind of a special public notice for the primacy application itself, which did occur in the last month or two. And then at the end, once the 5 items at the bottom are complete, the governor reviews the package and then also prepares a letter requesting primacy on behalf of the state. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the timeline, which again will be past, present, and future of this particular primacy pursuit that ADEQ has taken on. So you can see the circle on the left, that's the early stakeholder work. So stakeholder meetings and tribal listening sessions started in December 2017, and that early stakeholder work lasted almost 2 years until October 2019. And then around that time, rule drafting and more stakeholder meetings on the rule occurred. So that's the second circle there. There was a notice of proposed rulemaking, comment hearing, responsiveness summary, a notice of final rulemaking, submission to the Secretary of State. The rule became effective, like I said, in September 2022 and lies dormant until primacy is granted. And then the third circle there, application component development. So that's once the rule was in place, ADEQ worked on those application elements that I just went through, like the program description and the memorandum of agreement and so forth. And then the final circle on the right, submission, review, and primacy. So the like I was saying a minute ago, the primacy application, public notice, and hearing just occurred within the last month or so. And we're currently working on a required responsiveness summary to the comments that were received in the hearing and the comment period, the written comment period. And so once the responsiveness summary is done and a few other items are addressed, ADEQ is close to submitting the application for primacy to EPA Region 9. And then after that, EPA will review it for administrative completeness. And then once they determine it is administratively complete, they'll file a notice in the Federal Register. The regional office will do a review of the application, and if once they find it sufficient, they'll send it to EPA headquarters for another review of the application. And then once they find it sufficient, EPA will, through a rulemaking that will be in the Federal Register, that will be published in the Federal Register. The rulemaking will, that's the actual, I guess, the action that grants primacy is the federal rulemaking itself. And so upon that federal rulemaking's effective date, primacy will be issued. And yeah, so from application, ADEQ is planning on applying pretty soon. We're shooting for the end of the calendar year, but potentially we might submit in January. And then we've been told that the review process by EPA could take anywhere from 6 months to a year. So with any luck, we're hoping primacy will be granted in calendar year 2024. Okay, so I think that this slideshow was made available to the audience here. These are just some links to some of the web pages that ADEQ has, the stakeholder resources and so forth. on the ADEQ website. Yeah, you can see the third bullet there. That's the primacy application, public comment and hearing. So all of the documents, the primacy application components, the elements were public noticed and are available for viewing at that third link down there. So the memorandum of agreement, the program description, and so forth are available. Okay, so this is my contact. If you'd like to contact me for any reason concerning UIC, like I said, I think the slideshow is made available to the audience members, so you have that. And that's the end of my presentation, so I'm happy to take any questions.
Let me throw this into some context for the commissioners too. I've been working with DEQ on a decision tree of sorts to know what operators need to do or need not to have to do inject produced water. Also, the discussion on how OGCC or the Oil and Gas Commission needs to do to take move the primacy for oil and gas wells from DEQ to OGCC. And so this is an ongoing discussion and that we've been having. So that's part of all of this is the reason for the presentation. John, at staff, would you mind making this, I know we have it online here, but making that available, sending out this presentation to each of the commissioners?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. Or if the OGCC staff, I think OGCC staff has this slideshow as well. So either way,
that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, John, we can have Holly send it around to everybody. Sure, very easily. Thank
John,
you.
Sounds good.
Thank you for your presentation.
Yes.
Commissioners, questions for John while we have him? Anything else you would like to see from John in the future, or any? John, I thank you. I appreciate you doing this. It's very informative.
Yeah, my pleasure. And feel free to reach out with any questions if they come up after this particular session adjourns. Yeah, thank you for your time as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
All right, bye.
Moving on to the next item on the agenda, item 4, Chairman report. Item A, I'm going to take both of these together, item A and item B, CO2 sequestration discussions and underground injections controlled with ADEQ. And I just mentioned some of that ADEQ control and how the aquifer protection permits. We've had this ongoing discussion for some time, and it's been moving forward at a lot quicker pace recently under the new administration at ADEQ, and we are moving in that direction and identifying and have identified many of the things that we need to do legislatively and rule-wise, and some of those things are being presented in this next legislative session. On the CO2 sequestration side, I have been working with the ADEQ staff and the governor's office, as well as Brian Goatee from the survey, Gary Dirks, who heads up the ASU Lightworks program, Lauren Keeler, and Travis Johnson, also at ASU, in doing a white paper on carbon sequestration and the various related things associated with that. Also, John Coates, who is one of our operators, has been involved in that. And that white paper is going to go to the governor's office. We've had meetings with the governor's office and ADEQ on this to try to make determinations on the safety, the efficiency of it with regard to the CO2 and a variety of other things. In addition to that, I have coordinated with the IOGCC California, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, Texas, and other states on what they're doing in this regard related. And some of these things we need memorandums of understanding with New Mexico and possibly other states with regard to CO2 migration across state lines. So that is the white paper is not finished yet, but it should be done within the week and submitted to the governor's office by ASU Lightworks. Is there any question? And that will be made available to the commissioners when it's published. Is there any questions? And that, by the way, that white paper has been developed by all of the participants that I mentioned in there. Each has had a section on it. The section I produced is what the other states have been doing with regard to the carbon sequestration and liability and that type of thing. Is there questions on this from the commissioners?
Commissioner Thorwald, this is Mike Conway. Did you say that would be made available to those of us on the Oil and Gas Conservation Commission?
Yes, it will be.
Thank you.
Any other questions on that? Hearing none, let's move on to item 5, call to the public. This is your opportunity to ask about the what we're going to do with the administrator's decisions.
Excuse me, this is Deidre O'Callahan again. I am not able to speak very well today, so I will just visit with Administrator Schmidt and see if there are any changes to the way that we should be submitting permits and that type of thing directly. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other body in the public that would like to make comments or speak? Hearing none, let's move on to item 6. Is there any request for items to be put on the agenda in a future meeting? Hearing none, move on to item 7. Is there any announcements? Hearing none, we will move on to 8, adjournment. It is 11:07 a.m. and this meeting of the Arizona Oil and Gas Conservation Commission is concluded. Thank you all.